Bum 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 ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum bum bum ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum ba-da-dum bum 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 dum dum bum bum ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum bum bum ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum. Bum 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 ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum. Gustavo Adolfo Uribe here, and on this video, I'm gonna show you how to get into the game of independent music production. So, for example, like if you're a songwriter, singer, or a rapper, and you wanna have your own little project studio set up, so you can make demos and stuff. Okay. So that we're gonna go over and break that shit down. If you want to get into it, thinking about getting into it, or you're already into it and maybe you might get some nuggets here. Okay. So this is okay. So this is a home studio. Home studio breakdown. Okay. Why would you want to get a home studio? Because you want to do some music stuff, right? And you want to make beats, or you want to do some demos or whatever. The technology is there. But check this out. Okay. Technology versus acoustics, okay? The problem with a home studio is that, yes, the technology is there, shit is a lot cheaper, you could buy a lot of shit for on the cheap and get it going and get in the game. The problem is you're fucking acoustics. You're fighting acoustics. What does that mean? That means anything that you do in your home studio is never gonna sound as good as a real studio, as a real recording studio. Okay? Why is that? Because the acoustics in a recording studio, they're soundproofed. They have good electronics. Like the actual power voltage is steady. It's stable. Everything is built for it to sound fucking professional. Okay, so when you're in a home studio, you're probably in a room or some shit, and you could do like a makeshift vocal booth. I made a makeshift vocal booth. I'll do another. Oh, you could check out the video on the do-it-yourself vocal booth, which I advise against doing. But if you're gonna do it, then I'll show you what I learned along the way. And the acoustics aren't there, bro. A professional recording studio, they actually spend a lot of money getting a professional person to make sure that the acoustics are good for the recording and the mixing. Okay? Because what happens is you're in a fucking box, right? You're in a room, and it's a fucking box. So what happens in the home studio is all these sound waves are bouncing back and forth, and then you're getting some build up here and some build up there, and the sound's really fucked up. So you can do treatment to it and kind of clear out so the sound is not parallel, so it's like going in different directions, and it breaks it up and whatever, or maybe you might yeah. So you can treat it, but it's still never going to be as good. Okay? And then for mixing, you need space. You need to have really fucking fat, like at least some 8-inch speakers, 8-inch, woofers on those. And you need a lot of space so that shit can breathe, and nothing is blocking in a professional studio. you got, here's the mixing board, and then you got these fat ass speakers here, okay? And they kind of go like this, and then it's kind of like this, right? And you got space. You got space. In the home studio, you don't have that shit. It's usually like a cube or something or whatever. And so what happens is just not enough space, man. You gotta have the fucking space so that shit can breathe, you know? Okay. So I want to get that point across, and that point is the recording studio, professional recording studio, is going to sound like a professional recording studio. A home studio will never sound like a professional recording studio unless they actually build a professional recording studio inside the house, and that's going to cost a lot of money. Now, you might say like, well, fuck, what was the point of this video? Well, okay. The reason you do want to get a home studio is so you can get things up to, you can get your demos, or you can make your beats, whatever. So the technology. So what do we have? We got what are you gonna need to do this shit? Well, gonna need a fucking computer, okay? For audio, it doesn't need to. I think any computer can handle audio. For video, you need a fucking fast computer, but for audio, if you're just doing audio, it doesn't have to be super duper fast. I still recommend an SSD drive and as your main drive. That way it speeds things up. That's a solid state drive. It's the best upgrade you can do for a computer. Okay, so you need a fucking computer, and you're gonna need the software. I recommend Ableton. Okay, there's Pro Tools, there's Logic, and everybody has their own way of doing things or whatever. But the reason I like Ableton is because I used to not use it. I was brought up with Pro Tools. But then I learned it in Cal Arts, and at first I hated it, and I was like, man, this is really fucking stupid. But then you get used to it, and you're like, wow, it's actually really simple. And then it's like things that you can do on Ableton, they're just so simple, so streamlined. Because why? Because it's not coming from the tradition of traditional mixing and stuff. So for example, like Pro Tools and Reason and Logic, they're coming from the tradition of traditional mixing boards, okay? And Ableton is not. They're just saying, look, let's redesign this shit for the fucking computers, and everything is more streamlined. So these are designed, like I said, like you're in a fucking studio, but it's just like a virtual studio. However, Reason has really good sounds, so I have Reason. And what I like about Ableton is I can just take the Reason and plug it into Ableton. You can still do that shit in Pro Tools and stuff, but plug it. Reason has really good sound, so you can link that shit up. A lot of beat makers, they got Machine. I think Ableton is machine friendly, so if you got Machine, then you could link it up. Okay, link it up to Ableton. Ableton is going to be my recommendation for the DAW of choice. Okay. Now, yeah, the reason why I don't like Pro Tools, I'll tell you right now. I was brought up with Pro Tools when I was starting my music education journey, and I remember I bought an M-Box, okay, an M-Box, and in those days, Pro Tools, you had to buy the hardware to get the software, or else it wouldn't work. So it was a big fucking pain in the ass because the stupid Pro Tools or stupid M-Box was like $600, right, to get the Pro Tools. And they had different kinds of Pro Tools. They had Pro Tools LE, they had Pro Tools HD, and it was a big fucking mess, right? So I bought the goddamn M-Box, and I think like 2 or 3 years later, the fucking they stopped making that model of M-Boxes, and I was not able to use my M-Box with the newer Pro Tools software. Really fucking sucks. So I had to buy something else, and it was a Fast Track Pro, like a cheapy M-Box. And then I think by that time, Pro Tools, in Pro Tools 11, I think it was when they started saying, okay, well, you don't have to buy Pro Tools hardware anymore. You could use your own hardware and it'll work. Well, fuck you, too late, because Ableton, you can use whatever the fuck you want. It was like, it just makes more sense. Pro Tools is like this huge pain in the fucking ass. Huge pain in the fucking ass. So I said, you know what, fuck you, Pro Tools. And if you're watching and you love Pro Tools, that's fine, dude. But honestly, dude, that's why I switched. One of the reasons why I switched to Ableton. And Reason, the newer versions of Reason, it's like I got so used to the Ableton, the simple way of that it looks, that I can't even look at Reason anymore. When I see those fucking wires and shit and all those fucking, I'm like, oh god, I'm gonna get a fucking throw up, okay? And then Logic, well, Logic is just like the max version of Pro Tools. I mean, I don't fucking like Logic. It just, whatever, dude. I mean, they all do the same shit, but I don't know, man. Okay. So that's about the DAW. So that's the DAW, which is a digital audio workstation, I think it is called. Basically the software where you can record the shit. Now you need the interface, or the DA converter. Basically you're taking the analog signal to digital and then into the computer. So the interface. Interface. So I'll break down the cost too, but hold on a second. So the interface, you can get like a little fucking Fast Track Pro or whatever, and it'll basically take your this or your guitar, and you can plug it into the computer. Now the problem with this shit, these interfaces though, that I've realized, is that they are pieces of shit. Really, man. You actually buy that cheap piece of shit, and then when you actually plug in and start recording, the cheaper it is, you'll actually get like pops in the sound. You'll actually hear pops in the sound and like weird noises. And you're like, what the fuck is that weird ass digital noise? Like you're recording. Like, why is there a fucking like weird little fucking shit? It ruins your tracks. It's like, what's the point of it, right? The other problem is, so I'm gonna say noisy, right? The other problem is the cheaper they are, they don't have direct monitoring. What the fuck is that? What the hell is this direct monitoring? It means that you gotta be careful with these fucking things, because you buy them and then you realize you're recording, and then your voice or your guitar or whatever, and you're hearing the back, hearing it, you're hearing the signal coming from the interface out of the computer, and there's a delay, right? Latency. So there's a latency. And that is really fucking stupid, because you cannot record music when you have a fucking delay in your headphones. It just doesn't work. And then you can say, oh, just tweak the buffer sizes and blah 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 and blah 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 and low latency, You don't need low latency. You need no latency. You need no latency. In a professional recording studio, they don't have that fucking bullshit. You're not dealing with that stupid shit. It's like the most obvious thing, but it always gets overlooked. So luckily, there are some interfaces. You gotta spend more money, but they will actually work. They're not noisy, and they have direct monitoring. So for example, I have a Focusrite Sapphire Pro 26, and it's Firewire, and it doesn't have those weird pops, and it does have direct monitoring. The direct monitoring is okay, you know what I'm saying? It's okay. It's good enough to get to work, okay? The problem with that one is, and I don't know if it's the Firewire or what the fuck, but there has been times when it just drops out. Like, hello, where am I? It just drops out, or you have to like reset it, turn it back off, turn it back on. I think they should all be like Thunderbolt now, because we have Thunderbolt and it's supposed to be faster. The problem is that with these interfaces, it's like, oh, if you want the Thunderbolt, okay, yeah, that's a $500 add-on card. What? You gotta like put yourself in the consumer's point of view, man. If you're doing things for a home studio, that means you're doing things on a budget. Okay? So the more expensive this bullshit is, the more it's not gonna work, okay? So you need the interface. So I'm gonna say ballpark this shit. Now, if you can eBay this shit, okay? Oh wait, one more thing. Hold on a second. You're gonna need let's say, well, if you have a guitar or bass, you can plug it right into the interface. But if you're gonna do some vocal like demo stuff, I would get a condenser mic, like a Rode mic. Don't spend more than $200. Okay. You want to budget that shit. So let's do the cost. PC, fucking Mac. Okay, that says like 15 to 2,000 ballpark. Okay. This Ableton, if you can get it on the internet for free, get it on the internet for free. If you buy it, it's gonna be $500. I say internet for free. Well, you can, download it and get a patch or something, crack that shit. Because, like, I'm not proud of it, but, you gotta put yourself in a consumer's point of view. Like, these goddamn Pro Tools fucking crook bastards, right? I mean, think about it. Always updating the goddamn software. Always updating the goddamn software where it may not work with this hardware. It's like every 2-3 fucking years you gotta fucking shoot yourself in the head because you don't know if shit's gonna work. And then Mac is always fucking updating their shit. So you're just like, oh god, are these drivers gonna work? Because you gotta remember, these companies that make the interfaces, they have to update their fucking software so it works with your fucking PC. This is all like, it's a fucking scam, okay? So that's why I'm like, I really don't, I got my shit, Sasuke, you know what I'm saying? On the budget. So I'm teaching you how to do it. Okay, interface. So yeah, the interface, I'm gonna say like, the more money you spend on a fucking interface, the better. But let's just I'm gonna say 500 to 3,000. Okay. On the interface, because remember, if you buy a cheapy ass interface that's noisy when you record and that doesn't have direct monitoring, it's fucking useless. The only thing you could do with it is mix on headphones and plug some speakers into it. That's it. The other thing is speakers. If you're doing it in a project studio, I got some KRK Rocket 5s. Basically, don't. If you get 8-inch speakers, the problem is you need space. You need a big ass room, and those fucking things are gonna be loud and they're gonna wake up your neighbors and shit. So try to keep it like 5-inch to 6-inch, and don't spend more than $300, okay? Because you already know that you're not gonna be able to do like quality mixes in your home studio. Just ballpark. This is for demos, okay? Demos or parts of the song that you can later take into the big recording studios and then finish it there, right? So how much does this cost? Let's say, let's just okay, so 1,500. Let me get my goddamn fucking calculator here. Okay, 1,500 plus 500 plus 500 plus 200 plus 300 is 3,000. So you can get it from 3,000. This setup here. Oh, you're gonna need headphones too. Shit. Okay, headphones $100. Less than. Don't spend more than 100. You get some fucking AKGs. Okay. You know, they'll get the job done. Okay, so ballpark 3K to, that's another 1,500, that's another 2,500. So like around 3,000 to $7,000. And that is the setup, okay? And then with this setup, you can, every time you come home from work or whatever, you can work on some music and shit. Obviously, if you're an independent musician, you have to invest in your shit, and eventually you want to do your thing full time, and make a business out of it and make a career out of it. So, I mean, there you go. So, like, comment, subscribe, share the wealth here, and thanks for watching.